It's hard to believe that it's been already over 10 years since our local church went through maybe the most difficult thing we've ever been through as an archdiocese. I remember it being a very painful, embarrassing time to be a priest. I remember kind of the unfolding slowness for a year of just learning things on the front page of the paper, and just how much that hurt all of us. And you know, as there is always with scandal, it can shake our faith. And you look around and there's probably many people who are not with us at this point. And I remember to pray for them often, you know, that like all of us, we can heal, our faith can be actually strengthened with Jesus at the center. But I remember during that time something my youngest sister, Catherine, said to me, just as we were touching in about how this was affecting us. And she said, all I know is that I wouldn't want all of my mortal sins on the front page of the paper. And I remember being caught by the sort of humility and wisdom of that. Like, yeah, who wants to be exposed in that way? You know, today's gospel, I think, sheds light on something that is actually part of our current culture, and it's hard to know the way that it affects us, you know? It's really a duality. On the one side, we kind of live in this time of moral relativism. We basically say, live and let live. Who am I to judge? You know, you do you. And so we don't want to put really moral standards But at the other sense, maybe it's social media, maybe it's in our own human heart, there's this readiness to pounce on someone when they've made some indiscretion, some mistake, some sin. How do we explain that? And so today, the moment in the gospel that made my heart just cringe is they made her to stand in the middle. They made her to stand in the middle. And I wonder if in faith and your imagination we can just zoom in on these three different groups of people. The first, this woman all alone in the middle, certainly with shame. You can imagine her eyes downcast, not wanting to meet any other eyes because there's no expectation of any understanding. And so she just looks down. And I wonder if you can locate your own shame in life. What does shame make us do? It makes us want to hide. We hide from others, we pretend. We even try to hide from God in a certain way. I would say we even want to hide stuff from our own awareness because it can make us cringe. The last thing we want to do is to stand in the middle of a crowd exposed in our shame. It's the last thing. And then I wonder if we could zoom in on these men gripping the stones, you know? It seems that they don't actually see the woman in her personhood. They just see her as someone to make their case against Jesus. Like they're lodged in a preconception, and that's driving the train. I wonder if you can locate yourself in them from time to time. Because the reality is, when we don't deal with our shame and we're not honest about it, and we don't open that to the light of God's countenance, then we're going to shame other people. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying. There's a lot of truth to it. Hurt people hurt people. So if I don't experience healing in my hurt, I'm going to aggressively or passive aggressively, I am going to take it out on other people. It just happens. We might not be able to connect the dots, but it's how humans can be to one another. And then I wonder if you might just focus in on the person of Jesus. And what is he doing? We're told twice. It must have left an impression on St. John and the others. He's doodling on the ground. Do you know scholars for centuries has wondered and speculated what it is he was writing or drawing? Some will say he was writing out the sins of the men with the stones in his hands. We don't know that. Some would say he was drawing a picture to comfort the woman caught in adultery. We don't know that. What if Jesus sort of just doodling, as they're so amped up, is his way of just disregarding, showing his utter disinterest in sin and shame on their own terms? Just communicating them, I can't even meet you here. I can't even engage you if that is where you are. And so, I know your shame can seem like the truth. I know it can seem like the most urgent, pressing thing, but I can't even. Or what if he's on the ground so that he can meet the woman's gaze who's downcast? Like someone who can meet her gaze. You know, there's this great Portuguese love song called Barco Negro, and it's a woman singing of this man she loves, and she wakes up on the beach and she says this. In the morning, she sings this. In the morning, how scared I was that she would think I was ugly. I woke up shaking, lying in the sand, but then your eyes said no, and the sun penetrated my heart. But then your eyes said no, and the sun penetrated my heart. But what if, last of all for us, Jesus is on the ground with his fingers dirty in the earth as one of the most beautiful symbols of his self-emptying incarnation. Like when he got on his knees and washed their feet, like that. You know, I often ask the school kids, what do you think it would be like if you could become an ant and try to save the ants? And they ripped you apart limb by limb. What would that be like? Well, whatever that is in our imagination, that is not even close to the journey Christ made from heaven to take on our flesh and to dwell among us. The humility. And Christ, on his knees with his hands in the dirt drawing, is this truth that he will descend. He will descend as far as it takes to meet us in our shame, in the darkness, in the dysfunction, so that his gaze of love can set us free. And what does that gaze do for us? Well, in the first reading it says, remember not the things of the past. I'm doing something new. Or for St. Paul, what did that gaze do? He says, from now on, I know everything else to be so much rubbish. Literally garbage, trash. My own sense of righteousness, my own comparison to other people, it's garbage. Because of knowing him. Or he revises it later, says, to be known by him. Basically, St. Paul's saying, I thought I knew who I was, and I didn't until I was in his gaze. Like it's his gaze where the sun, the light, the truth enters my heart. And if we don't meet his gaze and let that gaze meet us when we're in shame, well, we're going to go 1,000 different ways, and none the direction that gives our heart peace. I don't condemn you. I don't condemn you. You could sin 1,000 times. I see the goodness in you. I never take my eyes off the unique goodness. You're made in my image. You're made to live with me forever in communion. And you know, I can hear the protest silently in your heart, but. Father, you don't know what I've done, where I've been. You don't know the ugly thoughts that I have sometimes that are embarrassing, like that I think those things about people, or that my first judgment is so unattractive, or that when I should be happy for someone, I'm not. Maybe you just need to be more and more in the gaze of truth. I want to close with this. This comes from a man who was actually blind. So I think it tells us that shame is deeper even just than these two eyes, this sight. And he writes, one cannot live imprisoned always. One cannot forever let life unfold on the other side of the fence. Human beings destroy one another. It is necessary, too, that they unite. It is urgent. There must be destinies that meet in an embrace. There must be a being, at least one, of whom one is never afraid, of whom one thinks of as oneself. You can be sure of their protection even in the face of death. A being whose eyes do not judge you, whose hands do not chase you away. Let's ask for the grace to become aware of this gaze of love, the gaze of Jesus in our life, that heals us, that makes us whole, that makes us discover our goodness, and that allows us to go forward in freedom and allows His mercy to overflow to others.